Hello dear students, so now today we would move ahead in this fourth chapter of class 8th science, that is materials, metals and non-metals. So here today we are going to discuss the history of non-metal. Okay. Now if you see, the first non-metal that was discovered during the prehistoric times, means during the BCs, like 6000, 5000 BCs, etc. So during the BCs, the first non-metal that was discovered was the carbon. Okay. So carbon was the first carbon was the first non-metal to be discovered and we discovered this during prehistoric times. Prehistoric times means during BCs, during prehistoric times or the prehistoric era. Okay, so this was the first non-metal to be discovered, and we discovered this in the form of coal. Okay, in the form of coal. So carbon was the first metal sorry, non-metal to be discovered. And in case of metals, what was the first metal to be discovered? Yes, gold. So we discovered the gold around 6000 BC, isn't it? Yes. So gold was the first metal to be discovered, and the first non-metal to be discovered was carbon, that was discovered in the form of coal, and it was discovered during the prehistoric times, means during the BCs, isn't it? Yes. So now if you see, the discovery of metal it was much more easier. That is why the metals were discovered, means during the prehistoric times as well. So number of metals were discovered, okay, during the prehistoric times. Why? Because if you see, most of the metals, if you see, are found in solid form. So it is easy to discover the metals in solid form. But if you see the non-metals, most of the non-metals are exist in gaseous form. So how do you discover it? Isn't it? Like oxygen is gas, nitrogen is gas. So that is why it was not possible to discover the non-metals in more amount during the prehistoric times, isn't it? Yes. So that is why we have more number of metals also. Okay, now if you see in amount, okay, if you see in amount, so number of metals are in more, than number of non-metals. If you see how many metals and how many non-metals are there, how many metals and how many non-metals are there, so you would find metals are more in number there. Why? Because the discovery was very easier there. So that is why number of metals are more in number. Are you getting it? In quantity wise I would say, in quantity wise. So in quantity, if you say on the basis of quantity, number of metals are more. Okay, you suppose, let's say you have 500 non-metals and only 100, sorry, if you have 500 metals, then you have only 100 non-metals are there. Okay, so quantity wise, number of metals are more. So metals are more in number and non-metals are lesser in number. Getting it? But if you say the amount wise, if you say in amount, non-metals are more than metals. Like if you see our earth surrounded by 78% of nitrogen. So nitrogen is what? Nitrogen is non-metal. So more amount of nitrogen is there. Water, there is hydrogen and oxygen, which is non-metal. And how much water is there that you are knowing? I think most of you are knowing how much water, 3/4. Are you getting it? So amount wise, non-metals are more, and quantity wise, metals are more. If you have 500 metals, then you have only 100 non-metal. But amount wise, if you see, our atmosphere is surrounded by 78% of nitrogen. How much nitrogen is? You can imagine it. Okay, so nitrogen is what? It is a non-metal. Similarly, oxygen, hydrogen, these are also non-metal. And you can see oxygen and hydrogen are available in the form of water. Water is what? H2O, mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. Getting it or not? So amount wise, non-metals are more, and quantity wise metals are more, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so this also you write somewhere in the box for your information. Okay, now after the carbon, the second non-metal that was discovered, it was phosphorus. So phosphorus was the second non-metal that was discovered, and it was discovered around 13th century, 1300. Okay, so phosphorus was the second non-metal. It was discovered around 13th century, and it was used for explosive purpose. Okay, getting it now, because it is very reactive. Phosphorus is very reactive, so that is why it was used as an explosive. Okay, then after you have the third non-metal that was discovered, and it was oxygen. So this was the third non-metal discovered, and it was discovered around 1774. Okay, and the name of the person who discovered this oxygen was Lavoisier. So Lavoisier was the person who discovered this non-metal, that is oxygen. Lavoisier. Okay, getting it? Then after we have next non-metal that was discovered was nitrogen. Nitrogen was again discovered in the year of same 1774 by the same person, Lavoisier. Then you have the next non-metal that was discovered was chlorine. Okay, and the chlorine non-metal was discovered in the year of 1774 by Scheele. Okay, so Scheele was the person who discovered this non-metal, that is chlorine. Then you have the next non-metal that after that which was discovered was sulfur, and it was discovered again in 1777 by the person that is Lavoisier. Okay, some spelling mistakes might be there, so do not mind it. Okay, then the next non-metal that was discovered was hydrogen, and hydrogen was discovered in the year of 1783, and the person name on again Lavoisier. So the same person discovered hydrogen also. So then we have a series of non-metals which were discovered later in the 17th century, so, or you can say 18th century. Okay, are you getting it? So this was the history of non-metal. Okay, then that is all for today. Would be discussing some other topics of this chapter in the upcoming lectures. Till then, stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you. Have a good day.